Pyre is a game where you play as a found family of criminals, exiled to a forgotten wasteland, banding together, seeking freedom from this prison that is the downside. I use the term criminals pretty loosely, though I guess that depends on how harshly you judge things like basic literacy, insubordination, and just not fitting in. But being exiled in this world is not entirely a death sentence. There is a way to get accepted back into society. Join one of the triumvirates, participate in the rites, and earn favor from the gods. If your team wins enough matches, you can go home. The elevator pitch for this game is a little high concept. It's a weird mishmash of a kind of dense, very text-heavy visual novel and wasteland rugby. It's the kind of thing I can totally understand why someone would take a quick look at it and decide, this isn't my thing, I don't care for this at all. But it's probably my favorite game of all time. That's a bold statement, I know. Most people wouldn't even say it's the best Supergiant game, but I've been thinking about it for years, and I think I've kind of come to a good reason why I would say something like that. There was a post I read last year on probably Reddit that I don't remember in full, but let me paraphrase. More than other types of media, in video games we have a tendency to review the product based on its individual components rather than it as a whole. This isn't something I necessarily entirely agree with. It's a little hard to judge the graphics of a book, and I've definitely complained about the cinematography or soundtrack of some movies. But it is a thought that I've kind of taken to mind recently as an excuse to step back and really look at a game that I'm playing and try to consider how everything functions together. I actually think Supergiant's most recent game, Hades, is a great example to explain what I'm trying to get at here. Hades is a phenomenal game. I've actually played it more than I've played Pyre, but to me, Hades is a game where it comes across like they developed it with the gameplay as a priority. Zagreus games his little heart out, and it feels good to game him around, and I love to game that game, but the other aspects of it, like story and music, exist to prop up the game rather than work in tandem with it. I already feel like I need to defend myself here. I'm not saying they're bad by any regard. The music rules, and the story is genuinely the best excuse I could have ever gotten for why I need to replay the same game over and over. But I do feel like it's just that, an answer to a problem. They come across as individual things. When I'm playing the game, I don't get the impression that they had this story they really wanted to tell, and a roguelike was the best way to convey it. Nor is the narrative really a driving force during active gameplay in the first place. They are separate things. You do one thing, play the game, and then the other thing, you read the story. But this is something Pyre actually excelled at years before. In order to show you the peak of Pyre's design, I'm going to have to go into some light spoilers. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It is core to the design of the game, and it happens about a quarter of the way through a regular playthrough. But if you're looking to go in completely blind, go ahead and stop the video here. This is your warning. Your ragtag group of misfits is chosen to take part in the Liberation Rite, the grand finals of your little basketball tournament. Winners go home. Or so you think. You've spent a few hours getting to this point by now. You've been getting to know individual members of your team, learning who you like to play as, what everyone's hopes and dreams are. But as you approach the location of what seems to be the final match, you receive some heavy news. If you win, not everyone gets to return to the Commonwealth. Just one. You need to make a tough choice here. Not everyone is eligible in the first place. Now, I mentioned earlier, you need to earn favor from the gods, and you get that by actively participating in the rites, a 3x3 match, a team that is smaller than your roster. It's in this moment, this match, where everything is firing on all cylinders. You have to make the choice on who goes home tonight. And you only get to pick from the characters you've been playing as the most up until now. If you win, they will leave. They're gone. You'll never get to play as them again. You will repeat the cycle in an attempt to send more of your friends home, and each time your team just gets smaller and smaller, and it feels weaker and weaker as you dig deeper into the roster of characters that you just played less than others. The story is directly working with the gameplay here. You won't only miss them in terms of gameplay, though. They're also no longer there to provide insight on what's happening in the narrative, or to share their backstory with you. They're no longer there to be your friend. But your team aren't also the only characters with character. You're not the only people fighting for their freedom. There is another team against you. This game has no failure state. If you lose the match, it's done. That opportunity is gone. By your mistakes, your misplays, and your inexperience, the enemy gets to go home instead of you. The gameplay is directly working with the story. On top of all this, the music is dynamic. It scores your every move. It swells during moments of intense action, and it lulls between goals. There's actually 9 different variations of the track for the Liberation Rite, each of them having different instrumentation and lyrics custom tailored for the team that you're playing against. The gameplay is the music is the story. All of these things are so intertwined in this one moment. One match that lasts maybe 5 minutes. Nothing compared to the amount of time that it takes to get there. And yet, it is the most emotionally invested I have ever gotten into a video game. It's weird. I replayed this game in its entirety to get the footage for this video. While playing, I decided to go for the challenge run and try this game's Iron Man mode for the first time. Iron Man being the game autosaves, and there's no way to go back on any mistakes you make. It was going okay for a while, but about halfway through I just lost. I lost and I lost and I lost again. The difficulty started feeling insurmountable. I even ended up losing a Liberation Rite and sent an enemy of the state back to society, someone who explicitly wants to try and destroy the Commonwealth. Even though I knew 99% of the video footage that I was recording was going to hit the cutting room floor, at that point I was debating with myself on if I wanted to start over. On a replay of a game that I'd played before, that no one is ever gonna see the full context of, I cared so deeply about the outcome of the story that I was almost willing to throw away all the work that I had done up until that point. It's these moments where everything in Pyre connects together, where it shines so brightly, standing out as something that could literally only exist in the medium of video games. That is what that probably Reddit post means to me. It's rare that games resonate with me on a level like that. I still love Pyre to this day, and I probably always will. I've been chasing that high. I've been on a real indie kick recently. But I know that, if I want to, I can come back to this game years and years later like I just did, and still get as emotional about it as I did the first time around.